Welcome back to the interesting narrative of the life of Olaudah Equiano or Gustavia Vassa, West African, written in 1789. We're still in Benin, so I'll start back here. Again, I'll keep my commentary to a minimum. We are almost a nation of dancers, musicians, and poets. Thus, every great event, such as a triumphant return from battle or other cause of public rejoicing, is celebrated in public dances which are accompanied with songs and music suited to the occasion. The assembly is separated into four divisions, which dance either apart or in succession, and each with a character peculiar to itself. The first division contains the married men, who in their dances frequently exhibit feats of arms and the representation of a battle. To these succeed the married women, who dance in the second division. The young men occupy the third and the maidens the fourth. Each represents some interesting scene of real life, such as a great achievement, domestic employment, a pathetic story, or some rural sport. And as the subject is generally founded on some recent event, it is therefore ever new. This gives our dances a spirit and variety which I have scarcely seen elsewhere. We have many musical instruments, particularly drums of different kinds, a piece of music which resembles a guitar, and another much like a staccato. These last are frequently used by betrothed virgins who play on them on all grand festivals. So you see the theme there, our love for dance, music, and words. Um, as our manners are simple, our luxuries are few. The dress of both sexes is nearly the same. It generally consists of a long piece of calico or muslin wrapped loosely round the body, somewhat in the form of a Highland plaid. This is usually dyed blue, which is our favorite color. This statement made me think of the Gullah Geechee people and the role of blue in their culture. You should read more about that if you can. It is extracted from a berry and is brighter and richer than any I've seen in Europe. Beside this, our women of distinction wear golden ornaments, which they dispose with some profusion on their arms and legs. They wear lots of gold. Nice, right? When our women are not employed with the men in tillage, which is farming, their usual occupation is spinning and weaving cotton, which they afterwards dye and make into garments. They also manufacture earthenware, of which we have many kinds. Among the rest, tobacco pipes, made after the same fashion and used in the same manner as those in Turkey. I like how he's subtly telling, because some of the lies told about Africa is that we're just in huts sitting down, no creativity, nothing, while they were stealing the things that the people made and put them in museums. He's showing you subtly how, oh no, we had a life. Our manner of living is entirely plain, for as yet the natives are unacquainted with those refinements in cookery which debauch the taste. Bullocks, goats, and poultry supply the greatest part of their food. These constitute likewise the principal wealth of the country and the chief articles of its commerce. The flesh is usually stewed in a pan. To make it savory, we sometimes use pepper and other spices. And we have salt made of wood ashes. There's a thing that we do in Jamaica. We use ashes in, some people eat it. So I could see a thing there. And the stewing of stuff, a thing there. Our vegetables are mostly plantains, eaters, yam, beans, and Indian corn. The head of a family usually eats alone. His wives and slaves also have their separate tables. Before we taste food, we always wash our hands. Indeed, our cleanliness on all occasions is extreme. But on this, it is an indispensable ceremony. After washing, libation is made by pouring out a small portion of food in a certain place for the spirits of the departed relations, which the natives suppose to preside over their conduct and guard them from evil. They are totally unacquainted with strong or spirituous liquors, and their principal beverage is palm wine. This is gotten from a tree of that name by tapping it at the top and fastening a large gourd to it, and sometimes one tree will yield 3 or 4 gallons in a night. When just drawn, it is of a most delicious sweetness, but in a few days it acquires a tartish and more spirituous flavor, though I've never seen anyone intoxicated by it. The same tree also produces nuts and oil. Our principal luxury is perfumes. One sort of these is an odoriferous wood of delicious fragrance, the other a kind of earth, a small portion of which is thrown into the fire, diffuses, and makes a most powerful odor. We beat this wood into powder and mix it with palm oil, with which both men and women perfume themselves. Sounds delicious. In our buildings, we study convenience rather than ornament. Each master of a family has a large square piece of ground, surrounded with a moat or fence, or enclosed with a wall made of red earth, tempered, which when dry is as hard as brick. Within this are his houses to accommodate his family and slaves, which, if numerous, frequently present the appearance of a village. In the middle stands the principal building, appropriated to the sole use of the master, and consisting of 2 apartments, in one of which he sits in the day with his family, and the other is left apart for the reception of his friends. Who knows that? You sit, there's the living room that we keep sacred, that guests come, and you sit somewhere else, maybe on the veranda or somewhere else during the day. He, besides these distinct apartments in which he sleeps together with his male children. So in addition, he has a place he sleeps with his male children. On each side are the apartments of his wives, who have also their separate day and night houses. The inhabitants of the slaves and their families are distributed throughout the enclosure. The houses never exceed 1 story in height. They are always built of wood or stakes driven into the ground, crossed with wattles and neatly plastered within and without. Wattle is a kind of mud. The roof is thatched with reeds. Our day houses are left open at the side, but those in which we sleep are always covered and plastered in the inside with a composition mixed with cow dung to keep off the different insects which annoy us during the day. No, the cow dung will not smell. The walls and doors also of these are generally covered with mats. Our beds consist of a platform raised 3 or 4 feet from the ground, on which are laid skins and different parts of the spongy tree called plantain. Our covering is calico or muslin, the same as our dress. The usual seats are a few logs of wood, but we have benches, which are generally perfumed to accommodate strangers. These compose the greater part of our household furniture. Houses are so constructed and furnished, require but little skill to erect them. Every man is sufficient architect for the purpose. The whole neighborhood afford their unanimous assistance in building them, and in return receive and expect no other recompense than a feast. As we live in a country where nature is prodigal of her favors, our wants are few and easily supplied. Of course, we have few manufactures. They consist for the most part of calicos, earthenware ornaments, and instruments of war and husbandry. Husbandry is farming, animal husbandry as well, but these make no part of our commerce. The principal articles of which I observe are provisions. In such a state, money is of little use. However, we have some small pieces of coin, if I may call them such. They're made something like an anchor, but I do not remember either their value or denomination. We also have markets, at which I frequently gone with my mother. These are sometimes visited by stout mahogany-colored men from the south west of us. We call them Oye Ibo, which term signifies red men living at a distance. They generally bring us firearms, gunpowder, hats, beads, and dried fish. The last we esteem a great rarity, as waters were only brooks and spring. Our waters were only brooks and spring. So he's talking about the dried fish. These articles they barter with us for odoriferous woods and earth, and our salt of wood ashes. They always carry slaves through our land, but the strictest account is exacted of their manner of procuring them before they are suffered to pass. Sometimes indeed we sold slaves to them, but they were only prisoners of war, or such among us as had been convicted of kidnapping or adultery and some other crimes, which we esteem heinous. This practice of kidnapping induces me to think that, notwithstanding all our strictness, their principal business among us was to trap our people. Trepan is the word here. I remember too they carried great sacks along with them, which not long after I had an opportunity of fatally seeing applied to that infamous purpose. The infamous purpose being of trapping people. So we're stopping here on this sad but realistic note where we see Africans participating in the slave trade, and they're participating, and you're seeing here that there's nothing such as Africa at that point. He just recognizes his tribe, they just recognize their tribe, and then I guess the moral of that story is when you become tribal, you use the ability to see things clearly on the macro level. But I'm going to stop here, and I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed reading. Thanks for listening.